Hello and welcome. This is a very informal video for parents who have just recently heard about the Oregon Battle of the Books. Hopefully you've had a third through fifth grader who's recently come home super excited to read the books on the OBOB reading list. And now you're wondering what on earth is OBOB. If you were a parent who has had a previous battler or you've ever seen a battle, you probably don't need to suffer through this video, but I did want to make something for people who have never seen a battle before and are very curious about what is going on, especially since we've had a couple tumultuous years where we haven't been able to have parents in the building to kind of do an introduction in person. So to start, what is the Oregon Battle of the Books? Basically, it is one big trivia contest. The trivia all comes from a reading list of 16 books. The reading list can be found many places, including your library's website, the school website. Probably if you head over to Powell's, they've got a list of the OBOB books. The official OBOB website has the list of books, but all of the questions will come from those 16 books. And that's basically it. Depending on how well students do answering the questions, they have the opportunity to advance. The competition begins with a local in-school level, so round one. All our students will battle twice in round one, and then the two scores from those battles will be added together, and then our highest scoring teams will be invited back for round two. And then after that round, it's kind of a head-to-head situation, so each team will need to continue winning their battle in order to continue on to our final round. If your team does happen to be the champion team at our school, they will be invited to the regional competition, and if they place well at regionals, they will be invited to the state competition. State is as high as OBOB goes. But most of us just need to worry about the school battles or the local battles. So our next question, if you have a student who's excited about doing OBOB, the first thing they need is a team. Teams are 4 students. You have the option to have a 5th teammate who will serve as your alternate. Some teams with alternates do rotate in, like based on which battle they're in, so everybody gets a chance to play. At our school, we actually, there's a breaking point between the two sets of questions, and we oftentimes allow alternates to rotate in at that point as well. But if you don't have 4 students, don't panic. We've had teams as small as 2 students. I would not say no to somebody who wanted to battle on their own. That would be totally fine. But anywhere from 1 to 4 students is your team, and then you have that option to have a 5th alternate. If you are struggling to find a team, I recommend you start with your students' friends, people in their class, people that you may know. If you're still struggling to find a team after that list is kind of exhausted, it's totally fine to let your teacher, your child's classroom teacher, and your librarian know that you are searching for a team, and we will certainly do our best to help pair some students together. We've never had anybody not participate because they couldn't find a team, so don't worry too much about that part. Just kind of explore your options, start with some friends, start with some neighbors, and see what transpires. Students must be in 3rd through 5th grade to participate in our division. There are middle school and high school divisions, but we only do the elementary division, so 3rd through 5th grade. And they must be within our school's boundary. So if you do have a homeschool friend in your neighborhood, they are welcome to participate with us as well, but they must be within the same school boundary. Okay. the next thing people generally, it kind of helps to know is what a battle is going to look like. Now, this might look differently for this year, and it looked pretty different last year, as we're still working through the COVID situation. But in-person battle will look kind of like this. I've got my moderator here in green. Their job is to read the questions and sometimes make judgment calls based on what the answer given is, whether or not it matches the answer on the card. They do have the toughest job in the room, and they are always volunteers, so it's important to remember that when you're watching a battle. The other kind of officials in the room will be the scorekeeper and the timekeeper. Sometimes, if we're not able to fill these roles, we do sometimes combine them, or sometimes we ask coaches to fill in these roles. So be prepared to possibly be scorekeeper or timekeeper. Any kind of timer will do. Cell phones work just fine. In fact, that's usually the only cell phone we allow to have out in the room while a battle is going on is the timekeeper's timer. Sometimes in a pinch, the moderator will take on all three roles, but it is ideal to try to have one per role, or one person per role. Then we have our two teams, our odd team and our even team. Four team members will be participating at any given time, or fewer if you have a smaller team. The way play kind of goes is the moderator will ask a question. They'll tell which team the question is directed to. They're always going to start with the odd team for number one, and then all the even questions will go to the even team to start. So each team gets first chance at their numbered questions. So all the odd team questions are asked first of the odd team, and all the even team questions are asked first of the even team. The only person or the only voice from the team that should be heard is the spokesperson, which I've highlighted in yellow here. So each time the moderator asks a question, each team will get 15 seconds to whisper amongst themselves and figure out what the answer is, and then the spokesperson will turn around and give the answer to the moderator. If they go over the 15 seconds, the timekeeper will announce the time is running out, and the moderator will ask the spokesperson to give their answer immediately. I think that's generally what battles will look like. Let's move on to some scorekeeping. So in our battles, there are kind of two halves to the battle. The first half is always the in which book questions. So all of those questions will begin with in which book. So for example, in which book do a spider and pig become friends? And the answer would be both the title and the author. So Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. The first question, of course, will be asked of the even team, and the second question will be asked of the, said that backwards. The first question will be asked of the odd team, and the even team will be asked the second question. If a team misses their question, the moderator will announce that the question is incorrect, and then give the opportunity to the other team, the opportunity to answer the same question to the other team. So scoring would kind of look like this. So if the odd team was asked a question and they got it correctly, they would get 5 points. If the even team was asked an in which book question and they got the title or author correct, but then they missed the other one, they would get 3 points, and the other team would get a chance to fill in the other half of the information or get earning their team 2 points. If a team completely misses a question, they don't get the points for that question, and it depends on whether or not the other team answers, whether or not they will be awarded those points. The content questions come after the in which book questions. These are usually not two-part questions, so they're all generally worth 5 points. If it is a two-part question, the judge will announce that. In the content section, they will say the name of the book before the question. So from the book Charlotte's Web, what type of animal was Wilbur? And the answer would be pig. And that answer would earn 5 points. So, couple of things about the score sheet. If we do have a tiebreaker, it is very rare, especially in round one. In round one, we will not have tiebreakers because we're adding those two scores from round one together. But in the further rounds, so round the semifinals or the finals, if teams are tied at the end of the battle, we'll continue asking questions until a team misses their question. The last thing on there is the challenges, and we'll head to the next part of this slide to talk about that. So, challenges. These do not happen for every battle, but we do offer the chance for a challenge at the end of every battle. Basically, what a challenge is if you run into a bad question. The question writers for OBOB are, of course, human people, and they are all volunteers. Sometimes they do not necessarily read all 16 books. Sometimes they're asked to do 1 or 2 books, so they may not know that something overlaps between the 2 books. For example, if there's a question about a character wearing a red raincoat, and there are 2 books in which a character has a red raincoat. It's kind of a bad question because the team could answer with either answer. And if they were told they were incorrect, they can go ahead and challenge, and they believe they are right. They can challenge that question at the end of the battle. Just to jump back here. So the whole battle would be finished, and then down at the bottom on the score sheet, it says challenge offered and challenge accepted. So if the team said, yes, we want to challenge our question, that was a terrible question, they will be given 1 minute with the books. So everybody coming to the battle will bring a set of the books that they have gathered together. You do not have to buy the books. You can check them out of the library. Sometimes teams will each have a couple of people buy 1 or 2 copies of the books, but you'll want to bring a copy of each book to the battle. So in case there is that challenge, the team that's doing the challenge will each get 2 copies of the book, and they will have 2 minutes to go through the book and find the example where they believe they are right. If the judge deems that they are indeed correct, the points will move back to the team that did the challenge. Unfortunately, only the team asked the question originally may challenge the question. So if a question if they're told that their answer was incorrect, so that the question will then bounce to the other team. That the second team being asked the question, even if they agree that it's a bad question and they want to challenge it, they may not. It can only be the team that was originally asked the question. It's probably a lot more on challenges than you need to know if you're a first-time battler, but it's really important to kind of have a little background on it, because when it does happen, kids oftentimes get really kind of flustered when it's time for a real challenge. So, what are your responsibilities in all this? What do you need to do as a parent, like getting your students gathered together? What do you need to do? It's kind of up to your team a little bit. The one most important thing you got to do is make sure to register your team so that we know you all are coming. and the registration is on our school website. So go ahead and take a look there. In addition to a bunch of other information that I have on the website in case you have extra questions. So make sure to register your team, then coordinate some times for your team to meet and practice. This is kind of up to you how often. We have had teams that met the day of battles and practiced for 15 minutes and stepped right in. And then we have other teams that meet every single week, just to go over like where they're at in their reading. It's kind of up to you how often that happens. It's very helpful to divide the reading responsibilities. Some teams, of course, read all 4 kids will read all 16 books. Other teams will have one person take the lead for 4 books, so they only have the reading responsibility of reading 4 books. Other teams will have kind of a lead kid and a backup kid for each of the books. So they'll read 4 books that they're leading on, and then 4 books that they're the backup, just in case the lead person gets stuck. Also do remember to check your email for updates, just in case things change. That'll be my fastest way to get a hold of all my coaches, to make sure everybody knows where they need to be and what's going on. Also make sure your team is ready at their battle times. Again, everybody involved in this process is a volunteer. So coordinating everybody to be at the same place at the same time is kind of a lot. So if you could do your best to make sure to communicate with your team when they need to be where, that would help the whole process out. And then the last one's a little bit of a fuzzy responsibility, helping with the team culture. Again, this, like, everybody kind of approaches OBOB from a different angle. And we have some teams that are really only in it to win it. And if it wasn't a competition, they wouldn't be reading all these books at all. And that is totally fine. It's also fine to just do OBOB because you love reading and you'd like a challenge to make sure you read all 16 books. It's really up to you, but it does make for an interesting day if your team isn't all on board with the same kind of expectation. So it's a fuzzy one, but do your best. See if you can help your team out to figure out what kind of competitors they are and whether or not they're here for some fun, or if they're really in it to win it, and a little bit how to support them in who they want to be. So those are the basics of what OBOB is. I'm sorry, this is a rather informal video, but hopefully that's enough to get you started. You can always email your school librarian for help, for questions. I've also put as many helpful things as I can on our website under the library category in OBOB. You're also welcome to go to the official OBOB website if you have questions for, like if you want to read the handbook, knock yourself out. The handbook is available for everyone. And that's about it. I hope you have a fun time. I hope you and your kids get to read a lot of books and have a great time kind of building a culture of reading. And hopefully you have a great enough time that you're back again next year. All right. Bye.